Hi everyone, we are now going to add our labels and any details and some more landforms if you would like to the layers you've already created. So here I have the layers, my mountains, forests, hills and plains, coast and ocean glued onto my light blue piece of paper. Okay, everything's glued on now. I'm going to start adding the labels and some details. You also might want to have some crayons to color any details on your project. Okay, so I'm going to start at the top and I'm going to add some snow to my mountains. So I cut out some pieces of snow with my white paper, and I'm going to add them to my mountains right now, so that will add a couple of details. Okay, so we have some glue there, and I'm going to put my snow at the top of my mountain here, try to make it kind of fit. If you want to turn your mountains into a volcano or some volcanoes, you might want to add some lava with your red pieces of paper. Okay, so I'm going to add some snow with my white pieces of paper. So I just cut out some pieces and kind of made it sort of wiggly at the bottom, so it kind of looked like the snow was dripping down from the mountains. You don't have to have any snow on your mountains. Your mountains can just be plain, or they can have snow, or maybe a couple can have snow if you want. Or you could even have a volcano if you wanted to use your red paper. Okay, so there are my mountains, and now I'm going to label my mountains. I am using the paper with all the labels, and I cut out the word mountain, and I'm going to put it somewhere on my mountains to show that I know that these are mountains. Okay, so I'm going to glue that right there. Okay, now I'm going to come down to my next layer, which is forests. So this is supposed to represent some trees. So I'm going to take a couple colors of green and kind of make some lines so they look more like trees. Okay, like pine trees. You can do this with your crayon if you have forests, or you don't have to. But I'm just going to add a few details so it looks more like trees, and I might use then a different color green to also add a little more detail to my trees. Okay, so there's some trees in the forest. So now I'm going to glue the word forest so that I can show that I know that that is the forest. So I've cut the word forest out, and I'm going to glue it here somewhere in the forest. All right, so now if I come down to this next layer, this is some hills and some plains. And I think I'll just kind of maybe add a little bit of detail here, like a little bit of grass, so that it looks a little more real. Put little lines to kind of add some grass, just a little bit. And then I'm going to use the label for hill at the top of one of the hills. Okay, and I'm going to use the label for plain down a little bit lower where the land is flat. Okay, so plain is like a rolling field. It's relatively flat. All right, so there we go. I'm going to put my label here. So far I have 1, 2, 3, 4 labels, and remember I need to have 8 or more. All right, then this area here is the coast, and I think I'll use a crayon to put maybe a little bit of detail on the coast. So I'm looking for a good color for that. Maybe that doesn't show up very well, so maybe a little bit darker of a brown. I'll just kind of put some little lines in here on the coast. You don't have to do this, but you can do this, all right? So this is going to be the coast. So I'm going to take the word coast that I've cut out from my piece of paper with all the labels. I'll put some glue on it, and I'll put it here so that I know that this is the coast. All right, and then this down here is the ocean. So for the ocean, I'm going to add some white to show some of the waves. And maybe I'll add a different color blue just to give the ocean a little bit of detail and depth. Let's see, here's a nice turquoise blue I could use to give the ocean a little bit of detail. And then I'm going to add the word ocean. Okay. So let's see, how many landforms do I have so far? I think I need a couple more. So here's the word ocean. I'm going to put maybe on this side at the bottom. Okay, so there's the word ocean. And so far I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a waterfall. So oftentimes you'll have a waterfall coming from the mountains because the melted snow causes a waterfall. So I've cut out a little blue strip for a waterfall, and I'm going to have it come down from this mountain right here, and I'm going to try and make it look like it's going behind the trees, and then I'm going to have it come out into the plain and hill area. So sometimes when the snow melts, it forms a waterfall in the mountains, but then eventually it forms a river which goes into the ocean. So this is going to be my waterfall, and this is going to be my river. So I'm going to glue those down, and then I'm going to add a little bit of detail to those and put my labels on. So the river is coming down from the mountain. The waterfall's coming down from the melted snow, and then eventually it becomes a river. Okay, so here I've got my river then going into the ocean. So I'm going to add a few details on that. Okay, so maybe some white lines showing the water. Okay, and then maybe a big kind of splash right here where the river goes into the ocean. Right down here, I'm putting kind of a little splash. And then I need to label my waterfall and my river. So I'm going to use the labels that I cut out from my white piece of paper, and I'm going to label my waterfall and my river. Okay, so here's my waterfall, and then I'm going to put some glue on the label for river, and I'll place that on the river, and then I will have 8 landforms. Okay, so we've got waterfall and river. All right, so I have waterfall, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and ocean is 8. Okay, so then I'm finished with my project. Now, you can, of course, do any landforms that you want. You could have a plateau, you could have an island, you could have a cave, anything that you want. But that's how you add your labels and your details and any extra landforms to your project.